Hi, my name is Jeff Simmons. I'm the Associate Superintendent of Operations for the Buckeye Union High School District. Welcome back to another school year. We welcome the sponsors and coaches to our presentation for school year 23-24 on the procedures for auxiliary activity and tax credit funds. There's a conflict of interest form that you can file with the business office. If you have a family member who does business with the district, t-shirt company, pest control, any of those types of things, you'll fill out this form. And as long as you're not part of the purchasing decision, there's no problem with that. We just have to identify that there is a potential conflict, and you would just keep yourself out of the decisions to use that particular vendor. And there's no problem with that. The Auditor General is looking for fraud and misuse of district monies. And so they send out this email. This one's a little bit older, from 21, but they do send this out about every 2 to 3 months to remind us to report anything that we see as far as fraud or misuse of funds. So they are looking, they will make examples of you. So please take care of monies, follow the procedures so that you are free and clear. But they post some of this stuff right on their homepage when people do things they shouldn't do. And so just a reminder to all of us to stay and follow the guidelines. Like I said, the rules are set forth by ADE, the Arizona Department of Education, and the State Auditor General's office. So a requisition must be created prior to a purchase. You can open small POs for emergencies. Use approved vendors when possible. And if a vendor doesn't take a PO, we can do reimbursements on a case-by-case basis. We have a number of vendors in the system. And keep in mind, as we talk a little bit more about procurement later on, these rules are not made to necessarily save money or be convenient for sponsors and coaches, but they are to protect funds. And that's why these rules are in place, because people in the past, not necessarily with this district, but with others, have done things they shouldn't do with tax credit or club money. And now we all follow all these crazy rules. So the exception with everything must be delivered to the warehouse, with the exception of large, heavy deliveries, like when we have furniture orders or something along those lines, we drop ship to the schools. There's also an exception if you pick up items such as Sam's Club and Walmart. Obviously, you just turn in the receipts as quickly as you can. Keep in mind that all the schools are using these credit cards or cards with their POs. So when we don't pay those bills quickly, they will shut our account down, and that affects the entire district. So once you come back with the receipts, please get those as quickly as possible to your bookstore staff at your site, and they can get it over to us to make sure everybody gets paid timely and keep all these vendors happy and open for business. You must have a PO to yourself if you're approved for a prior purchase. So when you're doing a reimbursement, make sure you have the PO in place. You need original itemized receipts. We don't pay off copies because then we get duplicated payments that way. And again, use approved vendors that accept POs whenever possible. Like I said, we have a number of them in the system, and they'll be there to service your needs. A quick update on the InTouch bookstore program. As some of you that have been around for a few years know, that we implemented in 21-22, shifted away from the ABC bookstore program into InTouch handling the revenues and Vision handling the expense. We did that for a number of reasons. One, the program from ABC, while it worked, was very archaic, and we could not advance with some of the things we're doing with Synergy and courses, and tying fees made it very difficult. And also taking credit card setups for clubs and sponsors was also difficult with the ABC program. But the revenues are imported into InTouch, from InTouch to Visions, to obtain the account balances, and we're doing that bi-weekly now and updating the board once a month. In fiscal year 22-23 last year, we simplified the reporting. We modified the sponsor, coach, and board report to be from Vision, so we had it all in one place. We had a third-party vendor we were trying to work through to make a report look like ABC, but while we were doing that, we were creating more communication issues and syncing issues, trying to get that to work. And so this also inadvertently caused account title problems for Estrella Foothills and Yonker, because in Visions you could only attach one title to each account, and so they were matching Buckeye but did not match the other schools. So for this year, 23-24, as we start this year, we have aligned those accounts across the district. So there's no longer a Wolves something or a Rough Rider something or Hawks. It's just band now or chorus or whatever it is. And we closed inactive accounts and condensed class fees accounts by subject. So we no longer have 5 or 6 different digital communications. We have one digital communication, and the site will track the expenditures they need to make from those class fee funds. So here's a requisition and the information you will need to present to your bookstore person to be able to get a purchase order cut. So this is the requisition. The items highlighted in yellow we need completed. While this looks like a lot, it will help us get your item quickly. If you're missing information that holds up orders, we're sending things back and forth. We have 750 accounts that Vicki is trying to work with, our person at the district level, and it's just impossible to manage all of that when we have misinformation or lack of information. On the bottom right-hand corner, please note anything you need quickly or return to requester. If you need a check, any of those things to pay a vendor, just mark that so that Vicki can prioritize what she's processing. Fundraisers must be approved by your site administration. They must identify what the money is being raised for, and that information be communicated to donors and supporters. If multiple clubs want to do a fundraiser together, the money split must also be identified up front as best you can, so that we have some type of allocation process or understand who all is involved in fundraisers. We encourage tax credit contributions to help our donors and taxpayers. So they get a dollar for dollar tax credit on their Arizona state tax liability. And so it's important that we classify those correctly as tax credits so they get those receipts and can contribute money to us and still get the benefit on their taxes. All funds must be deposited in a requisition for expenditures. So if you take in cash at some event, you can't take that cash and go directly to the store. You must deposit it and then requisition it out properly. Please turn in money and checks quickly to the bookstore or front office. No food or no funds in the trunks of cars, file cabinets, desk drawers. We list those 3 specific ones, and there's more, but those have all had money vanish from in the last 5 to 10 years. So please be careful and diligent with money. We have safes in the front offices. They'll keep that money secure for you. InTouch has a web store attached to the program where you can fundraise money and collect and directly deposit into the club or sports account. This is InTouch's answer to the GoFundMe and some of the other organizations that you'll pay a fee for. This one, the money goes right in through our website. You can set up QR codes to share with your parents and your students, and they can deposit money and fundraise directly in your own page that goes directly into your club account. So we encourage you to set those up. Contact Vicki. We have several, I should say, probably half a dozen or so that are set up already. We'd like to do more this school year and get away from some of these outside organizations that are taking a cut of the money that you raise, because this will go directly to you without a fee. The booster clubs are separate entities from school districts, clubs and auxiliary accounts. They can't be commingled. It's very important that we work together in partnership with those groups to maintain audit compliance, but they're an independent 501c3 or some other type of nonprofit status, and they're an independent agency. So we have as a district or a school, have no control over them or their finances, but we want to work with them to support our programs. I mentioned no mingling of funds with our money. Again, we're going to work in partnership. If a fundraising event is done with the booster club and it involves students as well, that money must be split equally, and the students must get a portion of that fundraiser to be put in the club account. If there's all adults working and no kids, all that money can go to the booster club. So a couple items here too. No district staff or coaches can be officers of a booster club. Those are separate entities, and because you're an employee of the Buckeye Union High School District, you cannot be an officer on the booster club. You can work with the booster club and help guide the purchases that they make with your requests, but you cannot be on their board or a signer of their checks or anything along those lines. So please keep that in mind as we work through those. And also just another fundraising option item that I don't necessarily have on here, but it comes up every once in a while. There's no 50-50 raffles or any of those types of things. Those are considered gambling and not allowed for a public school district. A booster club can do that if they want at a football game, but then students can't be involved in the selling of any of those tickets. It has to be all adults. Food and candy fundraisers, because we participate in the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program, and we have a non-compete clause with our food service provider, Chartwells. Those cannot be done 30 minutes, or can only be done 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after school. The exceptions are school-wide student council type fundraisers, but there's an ADA form. So if you want to have Jamba Juice or Kona Ice or one of those companies come out for lunch, we're allowed to do that sporadically, maybe like once a month, but we have to fill out a form to do that. So contact us at the district level so we can get you that form and get the information filed. If you're planning on multiple of those events throughout the year, it's easier to file them all at once instead of individually. So if you have a plan and dates in mind, send that to us so we can file it with ADE. And this also includes vending machines being on during meal times. Other important information, the auxiliary and club forms are located on the district's website under business services, under the Department of Business Services. Gift cards cannot be purchased with auxiliary or club money. They're seen as a form of cash and also as a form of payment when given to volunteers, which makes it a payroll item. So we have just avoided the gift card situation altogether per our auditor's recommendations. Please work through your site bookstore and AD with questions. The business office staff, we're here to help, but we can't be the first line of defense for 750 clubs. So your ADs and your bookstore folks are familiar with a lot of these rules and can help you answer questions. And if they can't, we will get together and help us together answer your questions. And club funds require meeting minutes with the requisition, and that includes if you're adjusting a PO or raising a PO or increasing it. So students raise the money and then student decides how those expenditures are made and must sign off on that. Procurement, we kind of talked about this in the beginning, but there's very specific rules for this stuff, and the packet has more information that we'll post for you to see. Prices are rising, but the quoted bid thresholds remain the same. It's $10,000 for a vendor across the district, so you can imagine we could reach that pretty quickly now. So please, we have several vendors that are on State Mojave, one GPA, and different contracts that have already been bid that we can use. So get with us and we can get you pointed in the right direction and save you some time. If you submit a requisition and we're over the 10,000, our staff's going to send it back and ask you to get quotes, and that's kind of a cumbersome process. So we have some vendors in most cases that can help us work through that. Again, saving money and saving time is not necessarily what the procurement rules were written for. So while that's inconvenient to the clubs, it is what the operation and the rules that we have to work within. So please plan ahead. The supply line delays and delivery challenges are still here, even all these years after the pandemic. So please work through that and give yourself time to get stuff in so you have your items before your season or your events. Facility or field alterations is more for the coaches, but we will continue to provide equal facilities to each comprehensive campus. It's been very important to our school board and to our district administration that the schools, while they may look a little bit different, still offer the same amenities. And the reason you will need approval if you want to make any of these alterations is there's funding issues that are involved. Even if you have the money for it, is all of it accounted for as far as like electrical power, if you need IT things. Equity between genders is always important, and we must follow the law on that. And then long-term maintenance and support costs of any of these changes. So work through your AD, your athletic director will work with the district, and we can get involved with the scheduling and make sure that we have all the proper contractor licenses and everything for liability purposes. So there's a lot to it, and it's not something that's very simple to do. And it's not that we would necessarily say no, but we just need to be involved in the process at the district and maintenance level. Transportation, all the district vehicles are monitored by GPS software. And that includes video and audio monitoring of students and in the travel vehicles. I will tell you the GPS equipment that is in there is very sensitive. If you do not want your conversation on the Channel 12 news, it's probably best not to have it if it's something controversial. So keep in mind that all that is recording for the safety of students. When the buses are moving, student riders on the white fleets and regular yellow buses must be seated facing forward with both feet on the floor. And I know that's troublesome when you guys have long trips to Mojave or somewhere outside of the Metro Phoenix area. but the bus will protect students if they're seated properly. If they're laying across seats, laying on the floor, I know they're resting after a game or before a game. There's safety issues there if they're in the event of a bus accident. So please be cognizant of that and remind your students to sit properly on the bus as you're going to your games and events. Student injuries, report student and staff injuries to your administrative teams, most likely your athletic director. Staff, there's a Alliance number where there's a nurse on that phone number, the 188 phone number that's shown there. There's actually a triage nurse that can talk you through. If it's a serious injury, obviously you call 911. But if it's something that's more of, hey, I got hurt, might need some help, then you can call this line and they will get you, they will direct you further, whether you need to go to urgent care or, hey, keep an eye on this and we'll check back in tomorrow, that kind of thing. If you have a student injury, please complete the student incident injury report. Within a few hours, take some notes of the incident details while it's fresh on your mind. Collect witness statements if necessary. Do not comment to parents about how medical bills or anything else will be handled. Our insurance company, the trust, deals with about 200 school districts across the state of Arizona, and that's all they do is school districts. They know the types of activities we're involved in. They will take care of and answer all those questions and want to take care of and answer all those questions. So you don't have to say anything. They will refer to the insurance company and they will contact you. Contact your administration so they know what's happening. And then they'll send the information over to the district office and we'll get it to our insurance team so they can handle it. We have a credit card policy here of acceptable use, how the cards are distributed and the limits on the cards. Please take a moment, we'll get the packets out to you, but please take a moment to sign off on these. And we're determining if electronic signature is correct, but one way or the other, we'll have you sign off on this and you'll have the directions of what to do. And then also on the, here's the use of credit cards policy that's in the governing board policy manual. And then lastly, just acknowledging that you're going to comply with these policies and procedures as outlined. So we'll post the packet for you to have a copy of or access, and you'll sign off on this and it'll get sent into the district office for when we are monitored or audited. Thanks and have a wonderful school year.